I need to go live over here because I'm like not even live yet. I was like not even live yet. Five. So this one, perfect. Leave it as it is. Perfect. So this is five. So this is five. Because I want it to sound like a way a podcast would sound, where it's like very clear and crisp. And even if you hear some room noise, I don't want it to be too busy. So some people are saying three, do three again. I wish I could do three again because I totally forgot the setting that I just pushed, and there's like four settings. So I didn't even realize what I even had it on for three. Um, well, okay, we'll leave it at this for the rest of it because yeah, we'll leave it at this for the rest of it. How's that? Well, here I'll do one more. Let's do one more. Um, okay, is that better? Louder? Too soft? It sounds perfect. Okay. So what I just changed from was perfect, or this right now sounds perfect? So now or before? Now or before? This is louder. That's louder. Good. Okay. So is this loud enough, or would you like it a little bit louder? This loud enough for now? Perfect. Okay, I'll leave it at this. Louder is better. Better now. Okay, louder. Now. Now is louder. Okay, let me try one more louder. I'm just messing with like the loudness at this point. Here's the loudest. Okay, so this is the loudest. So this is the highest it'll go. This is perfect. Okay, so someone says loud enough. This is perfect. It's perfect. Cool, cool. Okay, I'll leave it at that. So I just wanted to make sure before I got into like the study group, because I wanted to sounds like an actual microphone. Perfect. Excellent. Yay, yay. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, because if not, I would be doing this by myself and then I have to listen to it. I would rather y'all actually here. Good sir, back comfy now. Okay, I can put it back a little bit. That way it's not super in my face, but that way you can catch the volume and so forth. So perfect. Okay. All right. Go back to now. Too loud. Weird. There's a delay. There's a delay. What do you mean there's a delay? Okay, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that here. We'll deal with the real. We'll deal with it. I'm gonna leave it the way it is right now. Five is better. I don't even remember what that was. I was gonna leave it as this. I don't even know what that was. Okay, all right, guys. So it is study group time. So it is time. Yeah, podcasts are louder. Yeah, okay. So here, study group time. So we're doing The Secret, right? So that's what we're working on. The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And that's what we're going to be reading today. That's what we're going to be talking about. So for those of you who have been following along, we are on page 89, I believe. So that's what we were on, is 89. And for those of you who don't know what The Secret is about law of attraction and the ability to manifest the life that you desire. And you can manifest that through your mental power, through your energetic state of being. There's a lot of strategies for it. And I give you my strategies. I tell you what I went through, what I experienced in my own life, and how I was able to achieve some of the things that I was able to achieve, right? So that's what the focus is. But the book is a good starting point. And a lot of people who do not always, understand law of attraction, they'll watch The Secret or read the book, and they get super caught up in the ideal version of like law of attraction, or they think that the book or the film are exactly how it works, and it isn't. It is a good starting point, and it's a good way to start the process of manifesting your future and manifesting things for yourself. But it's really just a very simple stripped down version of it, and then it doesn't give you enough real world experiences. So if you ever watch the film, people talk about, this is what I manifested because of the law of attraction. And they might give you a little bit of a snippet about their experience, but they don't actually tell you the ins and outs, the nuances, the complexities of shifting your mindsets, shifting your state of being, changing those things. And that's what we're working on with this book. And so, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the material. I'm going to stop and give you my own commentary, give you my own ideas, give you my own experience, and wherever I think I need to give it to you. Okay. So again, we're on page 89. If you're tuning in because you want a reading, or you want to ask me a personal question, unfortunately, that was in the last hour. So now we are only doing study book material. If someone shows up and they start asking personal questions, unfortunately, I'm not even going to acknowledge the questions just because I have to do the study group. That's what it is, right? So, okay. So I'm going to start, and again, page 89. And if y'all want to put your questions about spirituality, questions about the concepts, the ideas, the material, or just even response to what I was sharing, feel free to do so, because I look at questions that you guys ask before I get off for the evening. Okay. All right, so let's go over here. Okay. People hold that for a while, and they're really people hold that for a while, and they're really a champion at it. They say, I'm fired up. I saw this program, and I'm going to change my life. And yet results aren't showing. Beneath the surface, it's just about ready to break through, but the person will look just at the surface results and say, this stuff doesn't work. And you know what? The universe says, your wish is my command, and it disappears. When you allow a thought of doubt to enter your mind, the law of attraction will soon line up one doubtful thought after another. The moment a thought of doubt comes, release it immediately. Send that thought on its way. Replace it with, I know I am not receiving now, and I know I am receiving now, and feel it. Knowing the law of attraction, I wanted to really put it to use and to see what would happen. In 1995, I started to create something called a vision board, where I take something that I wanted to achieve or something that I wanted to attract, like a car or a watch or the soulmate of my dreams, and I put a picture of what I want up on this board. Every day I would sit in my office and I would look at this board and I would start to visualize. I would really get into the state of having already acquired it. I was getting ready to move. We put all our furniture, all the boxes into storage, and I made 3 different moves over a period of 5 years. And then I ended up in California and bought this house, renovated it for a year, and then had all the stuff brought from my former home 5 years earlier. One morning, my son Keenan came into my office, and one of the boxes that was sealed for 5 years was right at the doorstep. He asked, "What's in the boxes, Daddy?" And I said, "Those are my vision boards." He then asked, "What's a vision board?" I said, "Well, it's where I put all my goals up. I cut them out and put all my goals up as something that I want to achieve in my life." Of course, at 5.5 years old, he didn't understand, and so I said, "Sweetheart, let me just show you. That'll be the easiest way to do it." I cut the box open, and on one vision board was a picture of a home that I was visualizing 5 years earlier. What was shocking was that we were living in that house, not a house like it. I actually bought my dream home, renovated it, and didn't even know it. I looked at that house and I started to cry because I was just blown away. Keenan asked, "Why are you crying?" I finally understood how the law of attraction works. I finally understand the power of visualization. I finally understand everything that I've read, everything that I've worked with, my whole life, the way I've built companies. It worked for my home as well, and I bought our dream home and didn't even know it. Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. You can let your imagination go wild with a vision board and place pictures of all the things you want and pictures of how you want your life to be. Make sure you put the vision board in a place where you see it and look at it every day. As John Azaroff did, feel the feelings of having those things now. As you receive and feel gratitude for receiving, you can remove pictures and add new ones. This is a wonderful way to introduce children to the law of attraction. I hope the creation of a vision board inspires parents and teachers worldwide. One of the people on the Secret website forum put a picture of the Secret DVD on his vision board. He had seen the Secret but didn't own his own copy. 2 days after he created the vision board, I felt inspired to post a notice on the secret forum giving away DVDs to the first 10 people who posted. He was one of the 10. He had received a copy of the secret DVD within 2 days of putting it on his vision board. Whether it is a DVD of the secret or a house, the joy of creating and receiving is magnificent. Another powerful example of visualizing comes from my mother's experience of buying a new house. Several people besides my mother had put in offers for this particular house. My mother decided to use the secret to make that house hers. She sat down and wrote her name and the new address of the house over and over. She continued doing this until it felt as though it was her address. She then imagined placing all of her furniture in that new house. Within hours of doing these things, she received a phone call saying her offer had been accepted. She was so thrilled, but it didn't come as a surprise to her because she knew that house was hers. What a champion. Decide what you want, believe you can have it, believe you deserve it, and believe it's possible for you. And then close your eyes every day for several minutes and visualize having what you already want, feeling the feelings of already having it. Come out of that and focus on what you're grateful for already and really enjoying it. Then go into your day and release it to the universe and trust that the universe will figure out how to manifest it. So the summary of this chapter is, expectation is a powerful, attractive force. Expect the things you want and don't expect the things you don't want. Gratitude is a powerful process for shifting your energy and bringing more of what you want into your life. Be grateful for what you already have, and you will attract more good things. Giving thanks for what you want in advance turbocharges your desires and sends a more powerful signal out into the universe. Visualization is the process of creating pictures in your mind of yourself, enjoying what you want. When you visualize, you generate powerful thoughts and feelings of having it now. The law of attraction then returns that reality to you, just as you saw it in your mind. To use the law of attraction to your advantage, make it a habitual way of being, not just a one-time event. At the end of every day, before you go to sleep, go back through the events of the day. Any events or moments that were not what you wanted, replay them in your mind the way you wanted them to go. Then the next chapter. We're going to the next chapter. Yeah, the next chapter is The Secret to Money. Okay, so we'll stop there for a second because I want to talk about that. Okay, so when it comes to the idea of using a vision board, and I've gone through this before, but I want to kind of clarify it for people a bit more, because I think sometimes people get into this and they get really excited, they get really amped up, and they really want to use a vision board to their advantage. And I think that's great because visualization is an incredible skill and key to use when manifesting or trying to shift the trajectory of your energy and to align to the forces of the universe. When I used to do Reiki for people, they used to come to my home office and I would, they would lay down and I would explain the process to them. As, this is what you might feel. This is what you might experience. Perfectly normal. Just go with it. But what I need you to do is I need you to let me in. And so what I would do is I would lay the person down and I would start at the top of their head and I would walk them through a visualization meditation, because visualization meditations are very powerful. I still use these kinds of techniques in my everyday life. Visualization is a very powerful method. And it's a three-part thing, because if you visualize something and you listen to music that amplifies the visualization, and then you feel the sense of empowerment, belief, and appreciation, bam, you're there. That is the precious sweet spot to manifest and align with the forces of the universe. So when I would have someone come in for Reiki, people aren't always open or receptive, and especially when they're experiencing something they've never had before. And for those of you who don't know what Reiki is a form of energy healing that is based in, I think it's based in Japan. But over the many, years and decades, people have brought it to the U.S. and to the West, and they've there have been other variations of this. It's almost like when you think of Christianity, you just don't say Christian, you think of Baptists, you think of Catholics, you think of Protestant, you think of all these different versions of Christianity because people like to, customize. That's the thing. We always customize everything, right? So I learned Reiki myself from a good friend of mine at the time. She was a Reiki master and she taught me. I went and studied with her and learned how to do this myself. And I also interned with her for about a year. Same thing as Pam. Interestingly enough, when I interned with my teacher Pam, I was with her for a year training and teaching and learning from her psychic process. So I did the same thing with this other friend of mine as well. And so she taught me everything she knew. And then I spent a year performing Reiki under her supervision, so she could teach me how to do it. And the thing about Reiki is, if you do traditional Reiki, you have to initiate the symbols. And what that means is, when you're doing this healing practice on someone, you have to essentially initiate a type of energy or a type of power through a symbol. And you do the symbols, you create the symbols through the patterns in your hand. And it was great. I mean, I had to memorize these symbols and all of that, but I didn't really feel it. I wasn't really feeling the connection to the work, to the practice. And in time, as I began to practice more and more and work with people, I started to incorporate other elements into Reiki. And the two elements that I incorporated were music and visualization, meaning the visualizing or the imagining of things. And what I began to do is I would have a client lay and I would put my hands at the top of their head and on their shoulders, and I would put my hands on their shoulders. And what I would do is I would walk them through a visualization technique. And what I would say is, I want you to imagine that you are a bottle of love and light, or your bottle of liquid. And the bottle, however, you're either running low on precious light water, or you're empty, or you need a refresher. And so I want you to envision that the top of your head is the top of the bottle, and I'm popping open that part of it, and as it opens, you're going to let me pour you a refresher. And I would walk them through some of these visuals, and as I was walking them through this, then I would say, now all you have to do is just relax and just let go with the flow. Whatever you feel, sensations, the heat, the waves of energy that you may feel, it's all natural. Just go with it. Let it be. And then on my end, I would envision that the heavens would open up above my head. I would envision that the heavens would open up and there was a ball of light and love and of energy. And then I would envision that immediately flowing down and trickling down into me until it suddenly became this strong, pillar of energy. Focused pillar, almost like a laser. So it's like it started off trickling in and then zoom, and then it strengthens up and gets powerful. And as it did so, it went through my crown chakra and then all of the other chakra areas. And then what happened, I would envision it, the way it worked for me is I would bring it to my center. And then below on with my feet, I would envision that from my feet, these roots would start to expand and extend and then go down all the way to the depths of the earth, to the core of the physical world, which is the earth. And I would envision that my feet were connected to the core and my higher space, my higher self was connected to this beam of very focused energy and light. And then they would meet in the middle here in my solar plexus, and then they would start to cycle and cycle and cycle. So I would build the energy from above, I would build the energy from below, because if I'm going to work with this person, I can't just work from the higher realms, I have to work from the lower realms as well, because they're still a human body and there's still a consciousness in a human body. So they still have to be here in the physical form. So I'm going to utilize the energy from the physical form, which is represented by the Earth's core, and the light from above represents our spirit centers, our light centers, our God center. So I'm connecting them with their higher self. It's not coming from me. I'm just a facilitator. I'm just the vessel. I'm just allowing myself to be used. This is between them and God, between them and their highest self, between them and what is meant for them. All I have to do is lend myself to the process. And that was always the intent for myself. I'm being used. I allow myself to be used here. So do what you got to do. So I would go through this visualization process. It would end up in my center. And as it would end up in my center, it would start to spin and spin and spin and become this massive ball of energy, almost like a yin yang symbol, but it would be the meshing of both, of the light and the dark, and both together to form this like cyclical pattern of energy. And then as it would build and build and build, it would build out into this wave. And then as it would build out, then it would implode in and then come out through my palms. And I would envision it immediately coming out and then whoosh, and then come in and then out into the person. And I would immediately start to feel the energy. I would feel the warmth coming out of my hands. And people who'd come to me for Reiki, they would experience physical sensations. And many a times I had people who would say, they would open their eyes and they'd look around because they were feeling something. One woman thought that I was at her head, because at some point I actually do get up and I move around, and I move around to different areas of the client around them. So I start at the head, work my way across the body to the end of their feet. And what I would do is I would also envision that the roots were coming out of their feet into the earth, and I was representing the light coming through, and then it would meet up in the middle. But I would create this surge of energy, and I would summon it through me, using myself as a vessel, and pour it into them. And this visual process I would repeat every single time. I just created it by myself. I didn't have anyone telling me to do this. This is what I felt the need to do because I got bored with Reiki. After a while, I'm just like, the symbols aren't working for me. I'm not really feeling the connection to the energy. I need to be in that state and in that mode to really connect with what I believe this is. And I created all of that to help me to do it. So I would use that. I would use the music, and I would bring that energy into them. And they gave me permission because their visual of opening like a bottle allowed the energy to flow through as well. That was the permission slip. So they would describe different things. Some people said they felt waves of energy going across their body, and they said it was just so weird. Some people said they felt like they were floating or they were lifted off the ground, and some of them got scared and would jump because they actually felt like they were not on a physical space. They were in the air. Some people would start to have twitches, and some people would describe as if there was like a heat source moving through the body. One lady, and I would also have this happen as well, where I would also summon angelic beings or beings of light with wings, and their loved ones and their spirit guides. I would summon them to be present for this. So as I was working on them, I would also envision all these people collecting, all these energies collecting around them, and also putting their hands on them as well, also fusing them with that energy also. And people would describe all kinds of things. They would see colors in their eyes. Some people it always happened where at the halfway point, they would drop off and fall asleep because the interaction of the energy was so intense, they could not sustain consciousness, and they would lose consciousness usually halfway through the session. And it was a normal thing. And then they would start snoring, or they'd go into that mode. But that was the process. That's what I would use. And different people had different experiences. And it's funny because when I first had an experience like that, and it was my very first Reiki session, I thought Reiki was BS. And I was like, okay, right, you're going to put hands around me. You're going to put them on top of me. I'm going to have this experience. I'm going to feel things. Okay, let's give it a go. And I was very very egoic and very, very sarcastic, and I was just an idiot. That's what I was, an idiot. And so I did one with my teacher, and she did a Reiki session on me. And halfway through, I felt what people tell me they felt when I would do it for them. And I was like, and I would my eyes would open because I was like, what the hell just happened? At one point, it almost felt like she had opened an oven door, and I was blasted with this wave of heat. But I knew damn well she didn't have a heater standing in front of, holding the heater in front of me. So it was a weird experience, but it was also a very comforting experience. And I always would have a supercharge to my psychic ability after a Reiki session, because I remember that time. And then after that, I had to go to a psychic meetup group where Ingrid was there with my teacher. And I went to the psychic meetup group because we would do practice exercises. And sure enough, that was my first mediumship experience after I had years where I wasn't able to connect as a medium. So it allowed my abilities to operate from a charge. And it would elevate my energy. And that's what it was doing. Essentially, the energy, the healing was elevating my energy, my state of being, and made it easier for me to connect and receive that information. So once I had the experience myself, I wanted to learn how to do this. I was like, this is incredible. I want to learn how to do this. So I learned how to do it. I spent a year practicing and interning, and I started to do it for my own clients. And I created my first business around Reiki, not around psychic readings, around Reiki. But in the process of doing Reiki, my psychic abilities came back online or opened back up again, because I had not had a solid psychic connection or pool of information for almost 15 years at that point. So I gave up on trying to be a psychic, and I just surrendered to being a Reiki practitioner. And in the process of connecting through the Reiki energy, my psychic sensors all opened up, and I started receiving information again, because I was surrendering to the energy. I was surrendering to the process. I was surrendering to receiving information or receiving through, and not trying to make it my own, not trying to have it come from me. And so that was the magic key for me. But after that, it was an incredible opportunity to understand law of attraction, because I was learning a lot of that stuff at the time as well. And it was helping me to understand why some people, because I had gone to other Reiki practitioners and I hadn't really had that same sensation. Some practitioners would just put, and I might feel a little warmth, but I didn't feel what I had felt the first time by my own teacher and mentor at the time. And I knew what I was doing for people, but I was also not having that same experience when I would go to Reiki practitioners. And I'm a little picky with who I allow to touch me or to do anything with me. So when I went, I found a woman in Houston. Her name is Victoria Mixbad, and now it's Victoria Johnson because she just got married a few years ago and she changed her name. But she's simply ReikiHouston.com or .org. And so I went to her because I had found her online, and I was like, well, I like her energy. And I wanted to have an ongoing Reiki experience every month because I wanted to continue to maintain my energy. And you can do self Reiki. People are like, just do self Reiki. I'm like, no, that doesn't work for me. I prefer to have someone do it for me, because having someone do it for me is an automatic for me. It automatically means that I'm allowing the experience of having energy channel from someone to me. If I'm doing it for myself, my own bias, my own limit, my own mindset will get in the way of that, and I won't do it in a way that I prefer, and I won't experience it to the fullness that I can. I want it to come from someone else. Not only that, but we are designed to be humans that connect with each other. We're supposed to connect with each other on a spiritual level, on an energetic level. And so for me, it was an opportunity to connect with another human being and not be in my own little bubble. So I went to Victoria, found her, and I went to her. And the first time she did Reiki on me, I had that experience. I was like, there it is. And she could do it, and she was able to do it very well. So I was like, yeah, I found another one that could do it the way that I do it. And then it's funny because she had also had Reiki from other people, but she had never had an experience like that for herself, but people who she was working on had those experiences with her. So when I offered her a free Reiki, I said, come to my house, we'll take some, professional pictures, and we'll get you ready for the camera, because she was going to be really pushing her business out. And I said, I'll do Reiki on you. And she's like, okay. And I said, I'll tell you everything that I do that works for me, so that way you can use it if you want to use it. If not, then leave it alone. So she came for a session, and I worked on her, and afterwards she was like, so that's what it's supposed to feel like, or that is what Reiki is. And I was like, yeah. And that's when I found out she had never had a proper session of Reiki from someone else. And I was like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to feel like. She's like, oh my God, this is like crazy. And I was like, I know. But it's an incredible experience. If you haven't had a Reiki session, you should try it. Just go with someone who's got high reviews and so forth, because you want to have someone who's good. And some people do Reiki, but it's coming from themselves. And when it's coming from themselves, their own mind, because they're empowering themselves to feel like they're Jesus. I'm Jesus. I'm going to heal you. I'm the power. And girl, you literally just cut yourself off from the universal life force, and you've literally started to do this yourself. So, but it was an incredible experience. But it was the visualization experience, the visualization strategy that worked for me, and that aided me in being able to channel that energy. And I use that same method with my psychic work, with my mediumship work. Whenever someone asks me, this is why I tell people, like, I don't care for people whenever they ask me, like, who's around me. Like, it takes too much work and effort. And I made the mistake once of beginning my practice that way, and I would spend more time trying to figure out who was coming through than actually just passing on like valuable messages. But when I just started, and I saw other mediums on platform and doing like, group readings doing the same thing, and I told myself, you know what, that doesn't work very well. I mean, yeah, granted, it might be interesting to have someone, I see a man around you, I think this is your grandfather, I think, that's great, but it takes up time to figure that out. And I don't want to waste the time when I can pass on a message that's going to completely transform that person's life and really change the trajectory of things. So I made a deal with myself that I wasn't going to waste time trying to figure out who's coming through. And instead, I was going to be more focused on just trying to connect them to who they want to talk to and assume that that's them and then bring the energy through. Some people may not like that. I don't care because it works really well for me. And on top of that, here's what I think. If I'm going to connect with the spirit and I say, and you're wanting me to connect to dad, and I intend or assume I'm connected to dad, the information that comes through is either going to click in place and match up. Like with Xtina, the young lady that I was reading for with her father, it's either going to sync up and it's all going to start to fit and fall into place. And that is the validation. That is what it is. So if I give that person 5-10 pieces of information that are accurate, and someone says, yeah, but I don't know if it's actually my dad. Okay, but we got all these details that are specific. And if you're waiting to just hear a name, or if you're waiting that I'm going to, give you something that can validate, then you're missing out on that experience. And you're honestly just making it harder for yourself. And it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. If it's synced up, if it matched up, and it's enough information, then it's them. Assume it's them and, get on with it. But if I'm feeling something that feels different, like with Xtina's reading, I felt something was going on because I was feeling a shift of energy, and her father was there, but something was coming through that there was too many pieces that were not matching up. And at that point in the reading, I have to decide, okay, am I misinterpreting what I'm getting? And I need to go back and reassess what I just got and ask for clarity. Is Xtina misunderstanding what I'm saying and she's not clicking with the information, or is somebody else coming through? And I started to think that it was somebody else, which is why I went in that direction. And sure enough, it turned out to be her grandmother, which came through with very specific pieces of information that helped me to place her. And then they were both there. But going back to what I was saying, with my work, I do the visualization. I do the music work. I use all of that with manifesting things. So if I want to get into a higher vibratory state, and I want to get into a right state of mind when I'm going for my walks right before I do these, I'll put on music. I'll put on something that I'm really jamming to. I feel very powerful with. I'll also have the views of here. And then I go through a visualization process where I envision that, again, the light beam comes to my center. And then I also get it from the earth. And then it comes into the middle. And then all of a sudden the energy expands out. And then it implodes on itself. And as soon as it implodes, it immediately expands outside of me. And I always envision myself with wings, these like massive, almost crystal-like wings that extend really like larger than anything I can imagine. But I imagine that. And then I imagine the energy comes down, comes up, builds, comes out, and then collapses, and then boom, goes out into this massive wave into the world, into the universe. And I envision that there's just hearts and love extending from me into the entire world. And it helps me here because where I walk, I am seeing a huge, vast amount of distance with the city, with Santa Fe, with all the houses and the mountains. I'm seeing all of this and all the people there. And it's a representation of the world for me. So when I envision this energy coming from within and going out, I am envisioning loving, healing, immense amount of powerful energy going out into this world and into the universe. And that helps me. That helps me to elevate myself and to get to a nicer, better, higher vibratory state so that I can do this work more effectively. So that's a visualization technique. And with vision boards, it's very similar in that, except they're cues, they're prompts. And I always think of it this way. I don't call it a visualization board. I would rather refer to it as a trigger board. What I mean by trigger board is a lot of people have a habit where when they make a visualization board, they go and cut out papers and pictures and stuff. And then that thing is like full to the brim, and they've got like 50,000 pictures on there. And I always tell people, no. Don't make it so complex that you will miss the point of what it's supposed to be. That same friend that I mentioned, the one that taught me about Reiki, every time I went to her house, she's a very spiritual person, but she had tons of talisman. I mean, literally, she was a hoarder. So she would have tons of stuff, and every single thing meant something. And every single thing was a spiritual charge for her or power for her. But she had so much stuff that it was honestly, it's on like, okay, like, if you have 50 cars and you only need one car to drive that day. What's the point of having all of that? You only need the one tool. You only need the one vehicle. You don't need the 50 cars, And so I saw it that way for her. It's like, why do you have all these spiritual talisman of the power that you possess? Why do you have so many? Because you only need, if you're going to use a tool, keep it simple. Keep it narrowed down to like a few, 3, 4 things. Like keep it to attention span. And I don't think that she realized that, but I was like, every single thing in this space that you feel has power, you've literally disempowered yourself by having that. Because if you believe that has your power, that has your power, that has your power, that's your power, then all of a sudden everything around you has your power, and you've completely accepted that you're not the source of that power. You believe that's all representative of the power. So I don't believe in doing that. I believe in just focusing on 3 or 4 focuses, 4 points, and then using that as a trigger for your power, for your own ability. So when you do a vision board, keep it simple. 4, maybe 5 things max. Like keep it simple. And the picture or the image that should be on that vision board should be a trigger for an experience, for an emotional state, for a state of being. In other words, if you want a car, and we'll use that because a lot of people, it's a superficial thing, but some people want cars. Some people need cars. They don't have a car. Some people want a better car or a new car because their car's crapping out. It's okay. You can desire a car. But what I'm saying is focus on if you are dirt poor and you're trying to manifest a Lamborghini or a Aston Martin. If you're trying to manifest something like that, first of all, you got the taxes, you got the fees that go along with a vehicle of that nature. You've got the upkeep if something goes wrong with that vehicle. That repair is going to cost a lot of money. Not only that, the likelihood of you being able to manifest the most expensive car when you're dirt poor is highly unlikely, because it's a huge gap between feast and famine, and it's going to be hard to manifest a lot of really incredible things from a place of famine. So you need to just take it one level up. Don't go to the extreme. Just one level up. Okay, I want a Honda. Okay, cool. We can do a Honda. Honda's doable, right? And so I recommend picking something that you like. That's like a Honda that is doable, that is practical, that your mind isn't going to have to like twist itself around to imagine having. It's going to be like, oh, well, my cousin has a Honda. She can afford it. So something practical, and start there. And you find the vehicle that you prefer, that you like, and then cut it out if you want to cut it out, and then put a picture of yourself in it, right? And then you create an experience around that. Well, what is the car going to be for you? Well, I want to drive a nice car. I want a nice car. Okay, but that's not an experience. What experience would you be having with that vehicle? Well, I would be able to go to the beach and like hang out at the beach with it, because it's going to be an SUV, and I would be able to like go on picnics. I want to go on road trips and etc. Okay, then that's what you're going to fixate on, is the experience it elicits for you. And so what you do is, when you see that picture on the vision board of you inside that Honda, don't think of yourself of, car, it's wonderful, I'm so appreciative because I have this Honda. That's nothing. That does nothing for you. What you do is use it as a trigger to elicit the experience you desire. I see that Honda, I see myself in the Honda, oh, being at the beach would be so much fun. And then envision yourself at the beach, enjoying the Honda at the beach, not driving it, but enjoying it at the beach. And then, oh, road trip. Oh, yeah. Well, if I'm like going to take a road trip, I don't want to park in parking lots where there's a lot of cars or vehicles, because I don't want them to dent my door. So if I'm going to go, let's see, the first place I want to go to is New Orleans from Houston. So I'm going to probably stop in Beaumont. So I got to figure out my route. So let me look at a map or Google Maps and see what the route I would want to take there. So that's the experience, because what's happening there is you're allowing yourself to fall into the experience and think of it in a way that is very real, and you're not fixating so much on the Honda. The Honda is just a trigger picture. It's not the experience you desire. It's just a representation of what it would afford you. Focus on the experience. And what I found is, when I focus on the experience and less on the thing, using visual cues and triggers, automatically I end up having the experience, even though I may not even get that thing. But does it really matter? Because if I end up having an experience where I can go and have something or do something, and it's the same thing, then does it really matter how it happened? The thing about it is, usually the thing I want shows up as part of the package, because that is part of the experience. And so most times I've ended up having the experience, and the thing that I wanted becomes a part of the package deal with that experience. So I end up manifesting the thing through just trying to focus on the experience. And so that's what the vision board should be for you. It should be a trigger board of the things that you want to experience, represented by the thing you think you need to have the experience. Because once you see that thing, then it should trigger the experience, go into the state of having that mental experience of that experience, physical experience, and then that's part of the package deal. That's the best way that I know to utilize a vision board. And my vision boards work really well because I have 3 or 4 over years that I've done, and I can go back and tell you how I manifested every single thing on those boards, and what happened, and when that showed up, and how that showed up. And I can tell you because I've got the history, I got the receipts, and I got the pictures to back it up. And I'm not just saying it, oh, I'm making this up. No, I have the visual pictures of me doing those things that is based on the board that I had. And that way I can show you the receipt, the proof that I actually achieved it. So that's how you use a vision board. And if you want to use a vision board, make it simple, make it practical, and then use it as a trigger for your things. Sometimes when I used to do energy cleansings for people, or when I'm giving them guidance on how to cleanse their space, I always tell them, now that you've cleansed the space, remember, this space has to represent what you desire it to be. And if you just cleanse the space, but then you have a habitual nature that is not that positive or pleasant, you're just walking back in and reinfecting the space with your bad attitude. So you need to work on yourself, and then also cleanse the space in as part of the process. But I always tell people, like, if you have a home that is chaotic, or you have a home where there's a lot of like arguments and a lot of people who just don't see eye to eye, then you need to intend for that space to be a place where people are working together as a team. And so what I suggest to people is, if you have a family, you and your husband are not getting along, your kids are just crazy and they don't ever want to do what you need them to do, then I want you to go and take a picture of you with your husband holding hands in a circle, and then have the kids complete the circle holding hands, and in the middle it should say teamwork, love, cooperation. And then take that picture and post it at the front of the entrance of your space where everybody has to go in and out from. Because if you are walking into your space every day and you're seeing that picture, you may not realize that that's a trigger. And what that's triggering is the idea and the possibility of that based with your family and the cooperation and so forth. It's a trigger. So as soon as you see it, even if you don't agree with it or believe in it, after some time it becomes an automatic where you see it and you know that's what it means. And when you do that, you're actually shifting your energy slowly but surely over time. You're shifting your energy, and you're accepting that. You're embracing that. And everybody else coming into your home, your spouse, your kids, same thing, same experience. They don't even realize you're using them to help you manifest something that you want to manifest for yourself. So years ago, before we moved here to New Mexico, before I was even doing this as a profession, and I wanted to do this for a profession, I would talk about this to people. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to have a good business. I'm going to have a solid business. I'm going to have et cetera, et cetera. And I would go into detail and talk to people. People would think, oh yeah, right, whatever. But then I would talk about it enough, and I got them to believe me. And as I got them to believe me, I'm like, yes, like I'm going to use you to amplify my manifestation. And I followed through. I did the things I was supposed to do to get here. I busted my ass to get here, y'all. But I also used people's collective manifestational energy to help me and to raise my own energy up as well. Because what I benefit from, everybody else is going to benefit from. And if I do well, I'm going to make sure damn well that every single person that was a part of the process is going to get something out of it. So it's not just about me. It's about how can I elevate everybody's experience, but I'm going to use them to elevate my own experience because I know what I need to do. And that's how I would use vision boards and law of attraction and visualization techniques. So I would recommend the same approach because it does work really well. All right, so let me go through here because I'm going to go through the questions here. It's a lot here. It's like, and I'm getting close to my time, y'all. So, okay, going here. These are such great questions, and I'm gonna have to go back over this because the vision board keep it off. I've been thinking about keep it simple. Don't make it a complicated thing. And you don't even have to make a physical one. I use my desktop computer. the wallpaper, and you can go like on canva.com and make an easy, basic bitch vision board to use as a desktop wallpaper, and that will work just as well. It actually works better because most people don't see the physical boards up as much as they see their computer every single day, several times a day, and that in itself is an incredible opportunity to utilize the visualization process. Yeah, screensaver, yeah, that would work too on your phone. Absolutely. You can borrow whatever crowning cards. You can borrow whatever you want. What I have is now yours. If I've revealed it to you, if I've given you the tool, you're more than welcome to use it, make it your own, and make it better if you can. So anybody who gets information from me or gets, the benefit of my experience, use it to your advantage and then make it better if you can. Expand on it. Yes, I did. I took a picture. One of the things that I wanted to manifest was me having the experience of living in New Mexico and also working from here because I loved it here. And so when we came on vacation once, I actually took a picture of myself sitting at a desk. I had to rearrange some of the furniture in the place we stayed at, but I did it. And then I took a picture of myself sitting in front of my laptop with the view in the background, and I used that. But before I used that, I had made one through like a bunch of collage pictures to make it the same effect. And then when I got the chance to actually have that in-person experience, I used it and took it to the next level. So every time I saw that, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm remembering the time where I was sitting in front of my computer thinking that I was going to move to New Mexico. When I see that, I think of that was the experience I wanted and desired because that's what I was going to have and that's what it was going to be like every day. So, and that's what I end up having now. I have that exact experience. Visualization and meditation can work in lieu of a vision board. The reason why I recommend vision board or trigger pictures, even if it's just one picture in your home that triggers the experience for you, and the desire of that experience for you, is because if you are doing a meditation with music, you're going to have to make time, and the likelihood of you doing that several times throughout the day is probably not going to happen. You might do it maybe once a day, twice a day if you're really trying. But if you have a picture that you have to encounter several times a day, think of it this way. If I give you one dart, and it's a big dart, but one dart, or if I give you 100 darts, and they're small darts, but I give you 100 darts, and you have to practice hitting the target, the likelihood of you being able to line up and hit the target with with the 100 darts, the small moments, the smaller ones, is going to be much more consistent and ongoing than that one larger dart. So with meditation and music, you can do it, but it's less. It's going to take up less time and energy in your life versus the 100 darts that you have to consistently play with on a regular basis, because that creates a consistency of effort and intention and energy. That's what you're looking for. You need the consistency of effort, intention, and energy that becomes your state of being, which brings about the manifestation. If you don't have a consistency, then you lose that charge, you lose that mechanism, and you don't give it, there's not enough there. Now, you might still be able to achieve things that way, but it's just not enough, and from my experience in doing it. Shakure. Shakure. Oh my god. And I don't remember stuff anymore. I remember the Shakure. Oh my god, I remember those things. I actually made artistic versions of those. So, yeah. Yeah, it's funny, Cassidy. Yes, and it's funny because Ray was saying the same thing. I was very skeptical. I'm a very arrogant son of a bitch who is like, show me. I want to experience it or see it. Don't just be making beautiful sounds out of your asshole. I want to see it. I need to experience it. Because you can say whatever you want to say, but unless I have a direct experience, I don't know how to relate to what you're talking about. And I can't even trust that you're not crazy. So I'm this, very arrogant son of a bitch who always needs to be validated in what I'm doing. And I want the receipts. So I surrendered to the experience, and I had an experience, and I'm like, oh, I'm the dumbass that totally, I'm the dumbass that didn't believe it, and it's true. So now I intentionally try to have experiences. I actually ask for experiences, and the universe provides those experiences nonetheless. Don't be scared. Don't be, ChowRX, don't be scared. Just trust the process, trust the universe, trust your power. You have to remember you are a child of God. You get to choose, and the choice is instant. The choice is fulfilled instantly. But if you don't know that you have that power, and if you don't believe in that, and you haven't built enough of an identity with that reality, then you're going in with a sense of anxiety and fear, and you're not probably going to have the best experience. So I would suggest to people, go in with clear intention and with that sense of empowerment, and know who you truly are beneath the surface. What you see in the mirror is not who you really are. That's just the costume you have on in this lifetime. You're more than that if you would just buy into it for a moment and then start to test it in the real world. You'd be surprised at what starts to happen and what starts to be created for you. It can help with physical health problems. Yes, it's not going to cure you in most efforts, and they do practice this in some hospital systems. They actually offer Reiki because they found through some studies that it increased recovery time. It also helped people to stay more optimistic. It also alleviated pain. And so there are studies out there through traditional medical facilities that indicate that this is a real thing. So they are offering it, but they're referring to it in different names because some people who are very religious or who are afraid and don't know, it's difficult for them to accept or to want to surrender to the process. But there are medical organizations that are utilizing Reiki. And it does help with physical conditions. I had 2 or 3 different clients come to me for a Reiki session, and they were trying to get pregnant, and they were having fertility issues. Within a month of having a Reiki session, they got pregnant. So I was like, ooh, I guess I can make people pregnant. I guess I gave them the light baby, and they think they got pregnant by their husbands. And I'm like, ooh, I think you got a Ferny's light baby. So it's just kind of funny. Don't eat poop. No, chow. Don't eat poop. No, I'm not. Don't eat poop. That's not going to heal you. It's going to give you really bad health issues. Don't eat the poop. Oh, thank you for that, Extena. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. People are like, I took an astral trip to someone's house. Um, People are always like telling me like, Fernie, I had a dream about you, or you were in my dreams. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me about I love hearing dreams like that I pop in on because I have all kinds of crazy dreams. But, people are saying, yeah. And I was curious, like, well, what did I do in your dream? What did I say to you in your dream? Because, sometimes I believe it's a version of me that is on a higher spectrum. And so they're having an experience with that version of me. Sometimes the me in the dream that they have, if they believe me to be a spiritual like teacher or a light being, that's what's represented in their dream. So they're actually just having a representation of their higher self show up as me. Just because, I don't fool around with bullshit. I'm not going to get to it. So they kind of need a little bit of a whoop ass, Fernie whoop ass, spiritual light whoop ass is what I want to call it. Yes, exactly. If you make when it comes to healing and Reiki energy, if it's about you, this is why I couldn't do it right the first time because of the first few times I really tried to do it, it wasn't happening the way it was supposed to. And in fact, I was this one lady, I gave her a headache, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And my teacher was like, "You're not doing it correctly." And I'm like, "Okay, what am I supposed to be doing?" And she thought I was just not doing the hand signals or do initiating the energy properly. And I wasn't intentional, but I was. But what I realized is I kept going into it because I wanted to impress people and I wanted to show them that I was, Jesus Christ, or I was this like amazing spiritual healer, an incredible like spiritual being. And that was ego. That was the trip. That was the thing that was getting in the way because the universe, God is like, baby boy, like, I'm gonna need you to cooperate with me because you're only capable of so much in this form. You have to lend me your body to use it as a vessel for this higher energy. If you keep trying to do this yourself, this is about you. It's not about them and their healing and their transformation. It is not about their connection to me. And it's not even about your connection to me. It's about you. And so, Ferny, I'm gonna need you to surrender to the process and let me do the work that I need to do and just go with it. Just go with it. And once I made that switch in my head and that was my intention, bam, it switched on. And at that moment, the very first session that I did, wow, the person was like, whoa. And it was a complete difference. And they even said, because they had had a session with me before, but they said something happened because you switched something and now it's a very different experience. And my psychic ability switched on because I stopped trying to control the process, trying to have it be about me. And I just lend myself to the experience. And in the process, my psychic ability switched on and I started receiving information again. And at that time, I had 15 years where I was trying to get it to switch back on and it wouldn't switch back on. Crowning crest. Yes, I'm the same way. Like, as soon as my partner, I actually was summoned here. So I was summoned to come to New Mexico by Aja. And I didn't even know what I was going to find here because people who come here, they think it's like sand and dirt and like hot, and they don't know what it is. And for those of you who like have been to like the Texas Hill Country, it's kind of like that. It's got the hills and the rolling, except there's more mountains here. So it's got that Texas Hill Country landscape. It's just a completely different culture though. The culture here is a mesh of Spanish influences, Pueblo or native influences, and and hippie influence, like old world hippie influences. So it's a lot of that kind of mishmash of energy, but I love it. I love it here. And there's more to it than that, but I love it here. And I didn't expect that. I expected, I didn't know what I was expecting until I got here. And the first time my partner and I set foot on soil and we got here, we were in awe because we were like, whoa, this is like a whole nother like country. It feels like you're in another country to some extent when you're in New Mexico. And my partner keeps telling me, shut up, Ferny. Like, stop telling people about this place. People keep coming here for vacation. And it's a thing here where New Mexicans do not want anyone else to come because we want to kind of keep it for ourselves. And we don't want it to become this like cesspool of people who are looking for that, but they're totally not in alignment with the energy and they're very different from what the culture is here. So he's like, shut up, stop telling people about it, stop posting your pictures, you're going to keep bringing people here, the prices are going to go up, we're not going to be able to afford a house, they're going up too high. And I'm like, no, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but it's a thing here, which is kind of funny. So astral projection. My experience and my history with astral projections is a little bit complicated because I remember reading a long time ago when I was back in high school. I was obsessed with spiritual books. I used to go to the library just to check out. I'm thinking like I'm at Blockbuster. Remember Blockbuster and the video cassette stores? I remember I would go and check out a book and read and suck it up. And some of the first books I read were by Robert Monroe and also by, what is it? And Robert Monroe and who's the other one? There's another one who's also an established, I forgot his name. Oh well, but anyways, established in this, in dealing with astral projections. And Robert Monroe actually, he had created the Hemisync, audios, and Hemisync ended up becoming the binaural beats movement, which also includes the isochronic or iso. I forgot the way it's pronounced, but that as well. All of that, where it's beats in your head. So you listen to the music, your headphones, and you have to have high quality ones because if not, then it won't work. But the different tone in your head produce different responses within the brain as a reaction. And then it starts to sync up certain patterns, brainwave patterns. So for those of you who have seen me do my experiments with the headset, where you're seeing my brain patterns when I'm doing this work, that's what it's affecting. It's affecting the brain patterns, and it's focusing your brain to do something that my brain is automatically doing when I'm doing this work. So that's where I started with the like out of body experience and the astral projection and learning about that. And I practiced it for a while. I have experiences where I know I'm not in my body or I'm somewhere else, but usually I don't stick to the human state. I end up bouncing into spirit form because I'm always ending up on the other side in one way, shape, or form in my dreams. And everything on the other side, again, it's like represented by white walls and clean spaces or nature environments, and sometimes auditoriums and big public spaces. But I usually know when I'm on the other side. But I always end up on the other side. I don't stick to the in-between state. But when I was younger, I was trying to induce an astral projection experience. And I got to the point where there's a point where you start to experience astral catalepsy, which is at that point you're no longer feeling your physical body and you're feeling kind of pressure in your chest. Some people think this is like, oh, a demon has come and they're sitting on my chest and they're trying to take my soul. I'm like, where did you get this bullshit? Like, go and read a book about astral projection. You're experiencing astral catalepsy, and the rest of it you just made up. So it's like, what is wrong with people? They love to make up stuff and let their imagination run wild and then believe that is how it is. There's a limit. There's a level you have to balance, you have to maintain. And so I had gotten to a point where I was in astral catalepsy and I was experiencing those sensations. And at some point you also start to, and you exist as a point here whenever I am in that state, and I can do it now at will, where I can go into that state and experience and be present in that moment. And I basically condense myself into this like point of light, and the point of light I exist at as is in my mind, right behind my third eye. So I exist there and I'm no longer feeling my physical body. So there comes a time where you can separate, and I did have experiences at that time where I would be watching TV and sitting down, and then I actually started moving sideways and I was slipping out of my body. So I was having moments where I was literally slipping sideways out of my body, and I was no longer staying in my body. But it was a waking state, so it wasn't like I was even trying that. But in one of the experiences, the last time I had that astral experience, I got to the point where you've experienced astral catalepsy, and then there's a level of fear. There's fear that's there. And the fear is of feeling vulnerable, feeling exposed, feeling open, but also releasing from the physical body. And I got to that point where I was in fear, and the fear was overwhelming. I mean, it literally felt like a life or death feeling. And at that point, you have to embrace the fear and make peace with the fear, and then you'll get past it, and then you'll go into the next stage. And I was feeling the wind, because you may feel wind going across your body. You may also hear sounds in your ear or hear like a whooshing sound. There's other things that are a part of it, but I couldn't move past the fear. Because I couldn't move past the fear, I stopped myself and I pulled myself back. But to this day, I still have astral projection experiences, but I usually don't remember the separation from my body. I'm just here, and then the next moment I'm in the other side, experiencing that space from that point of consciousness. So I like kind of skipped the level and I don't know why, but I've never been able to induce a physical separation where I'm still in this physical plane seeing my own body. It would be an interesting experience. I'm open to it, and I've asked them like, hey, give it to me, let me see it. But I haven't had it yet, so I have to assume that they don't want me to have it yet. All right, guys, I think I'm getting to the end of my time, so yes, consciousness is interesting here. And by the way, guys, like a lot of people don't realize this. When it comes to awakening, there are many awakenings that people will have in their lives. People always think that there's just one form of awakening or one kind of awakening. So it's, the Kundalini rising, or it's that spiritual awakening. I've had like 3 awakenings. I actually talk about this in one of the podcasts that I did with Ingrid, and I have a video on it as well. I've come to understand that there's 3 primary or principal awakenings. But also within that, there are sub-awakenings as well. Because if you awaken in one way to one aspect of your life, you may still be very closed up with the other areas of your life. But when you have a spiritual awakening, the first level of awakening is just realizing that you are not your physical body, you are consciousness. That's the first level awakening. The second level awakening is when you realize your God power and you begin to manifest and you begin to see the universe conform to your desire. And that's the second level awakening. The third level awakening is when you actually stop caring about the physical world as far as the superficiality of it. You stop feeling the need to have things or to accumulate or to focus on the physical accomplishments. There's that physical association. You have a detachment and disconnect from the physical. And your third awakening is not an awakening of self. It is awakening of the God consciousness, the God source mind. And what it means is when you're operating from the form of God, when you're operating from the source mind, you're no longer concerned with your limited individual perspective or form or life. At that point, you become a part of the collective consciousness, where at that point, the matter for your concern is all beings, all people, all things. And so you're no longer just thinking about yourself. You immediately begin to consider and understand and connect with all beings, all things. And so you're not operating from a singular point of perspective. You're operating from a God consciousness. That's the third awakening. That's where you start to encounter the masters like the Buddha, like Christ. You start to encounter these sacred light beings or consciousness forms that still maintain a physical body, but they're also so evolved in their conscious state that it's kind of hard to hide who they are. And you can't, it's just difficult to just see them as a human being. And it's immediately, you know them coming. You can see them coming down the path. You know this is a light being or a light person, or whoa, who is this person? You experience it. Some people in the physical life, in the physical form, some people who have achieved incredible things and have gotten a lot of notoriety and fame, some people do mimic that. So if you ever meet a famous person or a person who's well known, you might get a little inkling of that from the physical human perspective. But there's with a master, it's almost like amplified because there's more beyond just that sense of like fame. And so it's an interesting thing to experience, but that's the level that I'm working on, that I'm trying to figure out, because I am bouncing back and forth between the second level of awakening and the third level of awakening. And I keep bouncing back and forth. But I also have been told by my higher source, like, you're not supposed to like not have your body. Your body is useful for you. Your physical human experience is useful for you. Don't let that go. Anchor yourself and stay balanced between the two, because you need to connect with the human form. You need to connect with the human being you are aiding, so that way you can help them understand themselves, remind them, awaken them, and then you can bring them and elevate them to the higher state. But you have to connect with them on the human level first. And so whenever I connect with people, that is my intent, is to just connect on the human level. I'm a human. I know the suffering state. I know what you have experienced. I know a level of it. Let me be a part of your experience. Let me be a part of your path. Let's be one for just a moment, and let me nurture you and love you unconditionally. Let me be there present within your heart space. Let me just be a part of this for you. Now, come follow me, follow me, follow me, and then bringing them up and elevating them up out of that point of reference into a higher ascended state. The challenge at that point is for that person to repeat that process on their own, because it's not my place and my job to keep bringing them back up. My job is just to expose them to the truth, expose them to the light, expose them to what is, and then remind them of it, and then let them empower them so they can do it themselves. Because you don't need me. I'm just a trigger. I'm just a trigger experience. I'm just a trigger personality. I'm just a trigger presence in your life. You have it in you. Don't forget that. And don't elevate me above you, because if not, you disempower yourself. And I'm not here to be a part of your disempowerment process. I'm here to remind you of who you are consciously and unconsciously, and help you rise above the human experience so that you can encounter and experience and know yourself as God in form. Okay. All right, guys, I have to go because I have to make dinner. So I love you all, and I will be back next Wednesday. Okay. Bye, everybody. Talk to you then. Bye.